Welcome everybody to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host for the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. Oh yeah. Welcome back everybody to the Little Less Fear podcast. I'm super duper excited to introduce Mr. Eric Winters. He's the author of the book Swipe Right on Your Best Self. I'm really interested to know how you came up with that topic. And welcome to my show.
Martinez, thank you so much. And good morning from Sydney, Australia.
Yes, good morning.
I'm calling from the future in a sense, aren't I?
You know what? You are in the future. That's incredible.
So yes, swipe right on your best self. Look, I've named the book is about being courageous. It's a book about leading a courageous life, reaching for things you really want in life, in personal relationships, but also in a professional capacity, which could mean anything for different people. Mm-hmm. Now, why swipe right on your best self? As many of your listeners would have heard by now, there's a lot of dating apps. One of them called Tinder, not that old. It's the number one dating app, not that old, but it's you are presented with one person after another, a face, right, an identity, if you like.
Right. And people are so quick just to swipe right.
Well, you get to choose, don't you? You say, if you think, yes, this is someone I'd like to spend time with, you swipe it to the right. If you see somebody think, you know what, I don't think we'll have much in common, I don't think we'll get on so well, this isn't the kind of person I'd want to spend a lot of time with, you swipe left. Left says no, right is choosing yes. In life, we spend actually a lot more time, not with our romantic partners, but with ourselves, And really, it's a choice. We have a choice in every moment how we're going to say yes to life, how we're going to engage, what kind of people we're going to show up as. My book is a list of strategies and skills that anyone can develop to get better at choosing to show up as the kind of person they want to be, which is often going to be choosing to do the hard thing, the thing that matters personally, the thing that's difficult and demanding, but personally meaningful. And
what seems to be the hardest part, the hardest one?
The hardest part of choosing. Do you mean, Martinez? That part is part
Yes, the hardest part of choosing.
Well, we as human beings are wired to be fearful, of course. So it's deep in our DNA. Do not take risks. We are risk averse. We are avoidant. It's not because we're bad or flawed or defective. All of us are cautious, and we've all got minds that are very, very convincing and they're very, very influential. Mm-hmm. So a friend of mine was recently in the hardware store trying on one of these new VR headsets. And he was on the ground floor, okay, big ground floor, carpeted, whacked on the headset, and suddenly he was on the top of a skyscraper,
of a building,
on the edge. Yeah. And he's going, whoa. And the sales assistant said, great, so how does it look? He says, well, it looks scary. He says, I know. But of course, you're on the ground floor, don't you? He says, yeah. He says, right, just take one step forward, would you? He goes, no way. And he tried. Couldn't do it. Now, what he then did, of course, was take the headset off, and then he was able to go where he wanted. The virtual reality was still in his hands. It was in his hands, but he could go where he wanted. You and I and all your listeners are very skilled at conjuring up virtual realities.
So true.
And we hold ourselves back, just like my friend on the edge of the virtual.
Yeah, excellent example. Yeah, excellent.
And we think about, should I call that, ask that person out? I really like to ask that person out. And the mind says, yeah, sure, that would be good. And let me just conjure up a virtual reality of how horribly embarrassing it could be.
Right. Yeah.
And it's convincing. And it applies to work. I think, what about, I'd like to start a business. I'd really like to put my heart into, it's not what I'm doing right now. Let's say it's pharmaceuticals. I don't want to spend my life in pharmaceuticals. I want to be growing things in the garden,
Sure.
crafting organic veg, something like that. And so
I
people
do.
think of, well, yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it? So
Yes.
people think of their dream jobs, and they think, yeah. And one part of them says, yes, yes, that would be good. And the other part goes, yes. And let me just show you what poverty looks like. And it conjures up a precipice, a steep precipice, and we hold
Yeah,
ourselves back.
preconceived anxieties.
Look, and again, this isn't, you're not flawed, broken, defective. This is normal human functioning. In
Yeah,
fact, it's
hardwired.
correct human functioning. You're supposed to be able to think ahead, imagine
True.
things going right or wrong,
Right.
and make a choice. The good news is we can all get better at, in a sense, and I'm stretching the metaphor here, bear with me, but in a sense, taking our virtual reality and getting a little bit of distance from it and becoming an observer of, what is it I'm telling myself? What is the picture that I'm conjuring up? And when we can get a little bit of distance from what we're imagining, we're then in a place to make a much better choice. We can truly choose. No one can choose when you're actually in a virtual reality. Just like my friend, when it's just so compelling. It's very, very
So,
hard.
Eric, I come across a lot of people that are stressed out, and a lot of people open up to me and stuff, and they want to change their career, and they've got doctors, and they've got all kinds of, all these degrees, but they're not happy where they're at. And
Yep.
how can they step out of that virtual reality? And let's say they're like, you know what, I don't have time in my day to step out of that virtual reality.
Yes.
How do you even explain to them that what a baby step is to somebody that's already overwhelmed, thinking that it's not possible?
Yes. So one of the reasons that we're overwhelmed and that we're not functioning very well, and we feel stressed for time, and we're reactive and defensive and avoidant.
Yes.
The first thing I address is not trying to teach people some psycho mind hack, which everybody loves, but we don't go there. The first thing to attend to, the absolute fundamentals, is actually the physiology
Hmm.
of thinking courageously. The physiology. If you don't get your 8 hours sleep, and most of us need about 8 hours sleep to operate at our best. If you don't get 8 hours sleep, you rob yourself of a part of the night in which you get an emotional intelligence makeover. It turns out that during REM sleep, it's during REM sleep that every one of us gets an emotional tune-up. And there's more REM sleep towards the end of the night. You get about 5 periods of dream sleep, REM sleep, every night. And during every one, there's this tune-up. If you, for some reason, get up an hour early, say, immediately after just one night of cheating yourself of a little bit of this emotional tune-up, you will be more reactive. You will be more avoidant. You'll be more impulsive. You'll give in to that cake. You'll be more fearful. And when someone offers you an opportunity
You're gonna say
at
no.
work, and again, not because you're bad, cowardly, and defective,
Yeah, you
you're
didn't
just
let your neurons rest and get a full sleep.
100%, 100%. So the first thing we do is approach the physiology, and sleep is number one. Sleep has been described by the world's leading sleep researcher, Matthew Walker, as your life support system.
Wow.
It's not optional. It's not optional. And the quality of your life, and sleep seems so boring, sleep, but the reality is the quality of your life and your ability to choose what you're going to do in life depends upon you getting quality sleep. And it's not just duration, it's actually the quality of the sleep you get in the night. So we approach that. That's what I talk about first. Tell me about your sleeping patterns. How many hours are you getting? What's it like? So we cover the sleep. But then we also go on, and again, this is kind of a bit not very exciting, but critical to having
Yes.
a mindset that can choose to do hard but meaningful things. We've got to attend to movement. We've got to move. We are, all of us, have you noticed this, Martinez? We're just better people. We're better versions of ourselves when we move, when we, and,
Absolutely.
and we don't have to do marathons. We're not talking about, oh no, you've got to sweat it out for 3.5 hours. No, go around the block, go around the block. Better still, if you can find a park, a bit of nature. The mind loves movement through green and trees, and I don't know why, but it does. We need to move, and not just once a day, and not just say at the start of the day or at the end of the day. We need to move throughout the day.
Mhm.
Brains love movement. And I know we haven't got much time, but your listeners might be interested to know that the only reason you've got a brain, initially, anyway, was to move. There are animals in the sea that move
They're
around.
constantly moving.
There are little animals in the sea that constantly move, and they've got little brains. And then finally, some of them, they find a rock. They kind of like sea anemones and things. They find a rock, they hold on tight, and then they eat their own brain. They digest it. Because when you're stationary, you don't need a brain to navigate and to go around obstacles and towards food. You don't need it. Brains are built, they're designed for movement. That's their purpose. Now, of course, in a sense, we're still using them for movement. We use them to move towards the things we want in life. How am I going to get there? What would I have to do? We think about it. We use them to avoid things. I don't like the look of that. I think I might just go over here. We use our brains to plan, to move towards good stuff and away from bad stuff. We still need to physically move, though, if you want to have a fully functioning brain. And we're talking about fully functioning here. I know lots of your listeners will get 6 hours worth of sleep. And you know what? They're doing pretty well. Thank you very much. I know some of them are sitting in chairs all day long, a bit like we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, at desks, and they're doing very well. I'm not saying you're not doing really well. I am saying you'll do even better when you sleep better and move more.
So, Eric, how does having a better quality of sleep and moving around or moving more, how does that correlate with being courageous to take your
Yes.
first steps to make a change in your life?
Yeah. So they both work in different ways. The sleep will make you less fearful. If you get good sleep, you'll be less fearful. When we move, we release chemicals into the bloodstream called myokines, and they have been dubbed by the researchers the hope molecule. They make people positive, hopeful, and more emboldened. That's why. The movement makes you more emboldened. The sleep makes you less fearful.
Wow. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense too.
Yep. And we
Plus,
neglect these things. We're in such a rush.
Yeah, if you're resting and you are getting that quality of sleep, you're literally recharging your whole body and you're allowing your central nervous system to relax and replenish itself.
Yes, these are simple things, but they have profound effects, and you can notice them. It's more obvious in somebody else. So I don't know if you had a partner in life who's noticed you when you've not had such a good night's sleep, Martinez. They will have noticed that you're a slightly different person in the morning. You will,
sure,
and we all are.
Snappy,
snappy, a bit like 3-year-old kids. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And we're more likely to say yes to donuts, which I adore. But yeah, when you're tired, we surrender to urges to do the easy thing when we're tired. And if you, in your life, in your business career, in your professional life, you'd like to actually make more choices, which are not the easy thing, they're the hard thing, then look, we've got to be rested and we've got to move to be at our best. And that's what I'm talking about here, to be at your best.
What about people that say, well, I don't have time to get more than 7 hours, 8 hours of sleep?
Yeah.
How do we respond to that?
And it feels that way too. Look, the weird thing is people who sleep for longer get more done later. They get more done. They're more effective in the time. They make fewer mistakes that they need to correct. And they're just more effective. They make better quality decisions. So if you sleep for an extra half an hour, I predict you'll be rewarded with an extra hour's worth of productivity. And it's the same for movement. It's paradoxical. We say, oh, I don't have the energy to go for a walk or a run. But you'll know, actually, we have more energy after we've gone for a walk or a run. I can't explain it. I don't know what's going on physiologically, but it's true. And sleep is the same. It feels like we'd get less. It actually gives us more. It's a mystery.
What about napping?
Napping. Okay. If you're someone who has difficulty getting to sleep at night, and some folk have problems falling asleep, do not nap. Do not nap. But if you're someone a bit like me, I've got no problems falling asleep. Nap away. Apparently about 10 minutes is perfect. If you sleep for much more in the afternoon, and I'm assuming you're napping in the afternoon, and this is your nap time now. Stay with me, Martinez. Stay with me.
I'm with you 100%. I'm here.
Yeah, great. But if we're good at going to sleep at our bedtime, then a 10-hour power nap, I love it. It really boosts me. I feel much better. It's an opportunity to pay off sleep debt, and our minds, they need about 8 hours worth of sleep a day. And if you've been robbing the bank of its 8 hours, which it wants. And that's the deal. The brain says, look, would you like 16 hours of wakefulness, Martinez? Certainly. But in return, I want to receive 8 hours. And it's not really a would you like to, it's a non-negotiable deal. I demand, the brain says, I demand, if you want to be fully functioning, you've got to give me 8 hours. And if you don't give the brain its 8 hours of sleep, it will damage the 16 hours that it's giving back.
Recently I was on Twitter and I was reading some news about sleep and sleep study and how it correlates with needing less sleep the older you get. Do you find that to be true?
Well, as an old person, is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. Actually, I'm just wondering. I can tell you're really knowledgeable about sleeping and getting what you need. I'm just wondering, if the older you get, do the older people get, do they need the less sleep to have the same energy?
It's true. They older people need less sleep. Younger people and babies, it's the other way around.
Oh yeah.
So you need to find out for yourself what you need. But for most of life, it's actually more like 8 to 9 hours. Okay. It's more like that for the bulk of our lives.
For the bulk of our lives. That's really good to know. So that's the first thing, physiology. And what's the second thing?
So we get into the physiology. Then there are 3 mindsets I help people to cultivate. Excuse me while I make an unsightly cough.
Go ahead.
There we go. 3 mindsets help us to be courageous. The first one, well, let me just explain a problem we all have. If you're a human being, we live in a world in which we are bombarded with advertising
all the time.
Oh my goodness. And it tells you, of course, the message is pretty much consistent. Here's something you don't have. You didn't even know you wanted it, but here it is. It's look how shiny.
Now you're questioning it.
And where you've got all these things and say, look, if you had this object, you'd be so popular, you'd have all these friends, you'd be attractive, you'd suddenly, and there's all these things that, what they're doing is cultivating a sense of lack. You lack as you are. So advertising subtly, and it's very clever, it throws us into a sense of depletion. Oh, if only. And we feel less than, we feel less adequate to meet life's challenges.
Wow.
And actually we're less courageous.
We're not even aware of it. That's really manipulative.
I call it we're being drip fed junk values, Martinez.
Yeah, drip fed. For sure.
Toxic messaging, junk values, toxic, and it's just continuous. It's everywhere you put your eyes, isn't it? Here's something you need. You can't look at a screen without something that you need now. Yeah. Anyway,
that book, that's for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a sense of need. We need to the first mindset we need is to counteract this sense of neediness, and because when we feel less needy, we can choose better. And the way we do this is by cultivating a sense of defiant gratitude. in life. Defiant. I say defiant because the advertising says, no, be unhappy so long as you don't have the latest phone or this fragrance or
Yeah.
you're super attractive or whatever. So we need to be defiant. We need to say, no, I'm not buying that. I'm actually going to do what Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher from 2000 years ago, what he said. He says, you'd like to be happy? Want what you already have.
Yeah.
Want, and yet in life we hunger for stuff and we get it. Oh, great, I've got this new thing. And then, within a day or two, it becomes, well, we
done
get
with that.
used to, well, don't we get used to stuff quickly? But instead of that, I mean, that's still going to happen, but not if we deliberately, intentionally turn to the things that are good in life and just pause to savor them. I'm talking to you across the world. How magical.
Incredible. Yeah.
Wonderful. And we live in an age of miracles. And what we need to do is just pause for maybe 3 seconds. That's all I'm asking you, people. Give yourself 3 seconds of, wow, yeah, this is good. This is good. When you pick up something you like, I've got a coffee here. When I hold it, just give myself 3 seconds of, oh no, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah. So bursts of appreciation for what we do have emboldens us. Gratitude.
Oh, yes.
No downside. No downside. Now, the things that I advocate in my book are alternatives to willpower, because a lot of people will say, oh, you want to be courageous, you've got to do it. Just do it. Go for it. And what they're really encouraging you to do is to kind of steamroller difficult thoughts and feelings. No, not listening to my doubting mind, my self-critical mind, not listening, and just steamroller over resistance. That is one way of doing difficult things, but it's not very emotionally intelligent. At times, willpower's great. At other times, what we really need to do is develop the second mindset, which is one of self-compassion. Now,
that's a tough one.
Self-compassion. It really is. But again, it's a bit like the sleep and the exercise, Martinez. Paradoxically, when you do it, it delivers big time on being emboldened and courageous. A lot of people say, hang on, if I'm self-compassionate, won't that kind of sap my drive to achieve? No,
What's
it doesn't.
The difference, Eric? What's the difference between self-compassion and self-care?
Yeah, well, self-compassion is one form of self-care. So we self-care could be the sleeping, the exercise, this kind of thing, eating nutritious food. But yes, self-compassion is being kind to you. It's actually 3 things. So the world's leading researcher, Christine Neff, says there are 3 components to being self-compassionate. One is just being kind to yourself. You didn't choose to have a human mind that was fearful all the time. You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose where you were born. There's a lot in life, actually, that it's the hand you've been dealt.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, we don't like to talk about this very much, but actually it's tough. Being a human being is a difficult thing.
Yeah.
Challenges, just one continual series.
One after another.
Isn't it just? And sometimes we can feel isolated, like, oh, it's just me. We look at other people. The writer Anne Lamott says what people do is they compare their insides that are worried, frightened, fearful about finances and relationships and everything. They compare their insides up here, really, not there, up here. They compare what's up here to what they see in other people. And other people seem to have it all together. You look at someone's face, you can't tell that they're challenged at home or at work, or they're worried about their finances.
Right.
Yeah, and also advertising also encourages a sense of isolation and difference.
So true.
Yeah, it does not bring us together, it separates us. You are not like these people behind me with this big poster that are happy and they're holding hands and they're attractive and smiling and they're rich and successful. That's not you. That's not you. So advertising makes us feel apart from, separate. Christine Neff says, look, self-compassion is being kind to yourself and saying, you know what? We're all in this together. and it's hard. This is the thing. She's not saying, no, put your fingers in your ear, bluff that everything's okay, everything's all right. No, no, no. She says, let's be honest. Can we please be honest with yourself? And she talks about holding difficulty in balanced awareness. That's to say, when you're worried by something, afraid, it's not to shove it away. And also, it's not to exaggerate it, to pull it in and say, yeah, everything's dreadful, everything's awful. It's just to hold it and say, actually, you know what? I am worried. I am afraid this could go bad. And when we're honest about difficult thoughts and feelings, paradoxically, we're now in a better place to choose what we're going to do. Remember, I was talking earlier about the guy with the VR headset?
Yes.
When we can take off our VR headsets, our virtual realities, and hold worry and fear and negative thinking in our hand, not throw it away, but to hold it and say, yeah, no, actually, it's true. I am worried. We are now, it actually emboldens us. You can measure it. We get bolder. So self-compassion is the second mindset. It's a very emotionally intelligent approach to leading a courageous life that you can be proud of.
You know, that's really awesome to look at it that way. I never thought of self-compassion looking at your own worry in order to accept it. That is really profound. Thank you so much for that.
Well, we can thank Christine Neff for her extraordinary work on that field. And that's exactly what it is, the way you described it there. That's just what it is. So that's the second mindset, self-compassion. And the third one is what I call courageous authenticity.
Courageous authenticity.
Yes. Now, the authenticity part is really being honest about what you do want in life, not what your culture says you should want. Because we're all getting messages from our family and from the societies we live in that say, oh, if you're a male, say of a certain age, of a certain cultural background, here's what you should be doing in your life. This is what we'll approve of.
Yeah, and this is what you should look like. This is how your body should look like. And this is how much money you should be making. And right.
Yes. Yeah, how many children you should have, and that you should have children, and all this kind of thing. Yeah. And we're given this message very subtly. It's not, but it happens. It happens.
Oh, yeah. From the time we're a little kid.
Yeah. And if we just drink it all up, soak it up like sponges, then we risk getting to the end of our lives having lived somebody else's life. You know? Yeah. And in fact, there's a wonderful palliative care nurse here in Australia called Bronnie Ware. She wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. She was taking care of people in the last few days and weeks, and she was hearing common regrets people would share before they passed away. And the number one regret, Martinez, the number one regret of the dying was this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life that others expected of me.
That's so powerful.
Hey, isn't it just? And it's this message from the dying is a gift to the living.
It is.
I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself. So my book is a description of how we can author our own lives and then, importantly, develop the courage to take action, to do it, to live it, even while it's difficult. And that's what courageous authenticity is. The authentic part is it's your life. You've identified what matters to you. And the courageous part is you're not going to be able to do that without being with discomfort, not waiting until you're 100% positive and 100% ready and totally confident of a successful outcome. No, that's never going to happen. You have to take action to live your authentic life with fear, with anxiety. And your podcast is about a little less fear. Yes, I'm all for that. A little less. Let's take that virtual reality off. Let's hold it with compassion. But we are not going to throw it away. No. We can only reduce the influence of our normal human fears. Yeah, so brilliant name.
And anytime thank you. And anytime there's a reduction, there's an open window. An open window for change. Yes.
Love it. I'm so glad you are spreading that message, because there's a lot of kind of pseudoscience and wishful thinking out there where
Yeah.
people say, no, you just got to think positive all the time and banish negativity.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Good luck with that. Good luck with
Right,
that.
right. Thank you so much. Wow, you really pumped me up. I can't wait to get your book. I can't wait to, geez, memorize it. Like, wow, I'm definitely going to be swiping right to my life. And I agree 100% with all of it, especially outrageous authenticity. That is so amazing and impactful. And that message needs to spread virally for sure. Thank you
We
so
do.
much for your
Yeah,
time.
let's get it. Oh, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for giving me the amount of time you had, because you have encouraged me, in fact, to get a lot into a small number of minutes.
Yeah, you did an incredible job. So how can our fans, how can our audience, how can we find you?
Yeah. So the best place to find me is actually at my website. It's ericwinters.com.au. If you'd like, when you go there, there's a contact form. Feel free to send me a message through the contact form. If you're interested at all in the book, you can download the start of it from my website.
Oh,
You can get,
excellent.
you get the first 40, 50 pages or so. And look, what I'd say to listeners is, you don't need to read the first 40 pages. Read the first one. If you like the way I read, the way I communicate in that first page, if it resonates, if it lands for you, you will love the book. It's been so well received, but by people who like their books fluff free. Now, I know some people. Yeah, I hate books. They've got one core idea, and you've got to wade through this kind of bubble wrap, of words till you get to the middle idea.
To the
I
meat,
haven't
yeah.
done that. This book, it's small, and it's not one idea, it's multiple ideas. In the way that I've been speaking today, just giving you things bang, bang, bang. This book is condensed wisdom, and it's not my wisdom, none of it's mine. I've done 2 master's degrees in human behavioral science. I've just put in the book stuff I've learned. That's
Thank
all.
you.
And I've cut out the fluff. It's a book for people with little time to read.
Jeez, well, thank you so much. Thank you for giving me your outrageous authenticity, your courage, and for motivating me to keep going. And I motivate you, and I'm encouraging you to keep going and spreading your word and spreading your love. It's really all love-based. Thank you so much. I
Oh,
really
thank you.
appreciate it, and I look forward to meeting you in the future. It would be wonderful if I can travel to Australia, if ever so. I'll definitely be reaching out to you, Mr. Eric Winters.
Great. Come on down.
I will. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Bye. Thanks so much.
How was that?
We were great.